Hello, this is Dan Pro. I'm going to do a tutorial about rigging weapons. So this actually comes up quite often on the forums, and it's not usually apparent how to do this if you've never seen anybody else rig something like this in Blender. So I just want to show you that it's actually pretty simple, and we'll just get right in here, and I'm going to show you the final result. So basically what I have set up here is just basically two arms. So this is kind of a setup you would use if you're doing a first-person shooter type. So you have IK arms, you've got a little shoulder here. So I'm not actually going to attach meshes to these armatures, to this armature. I just want to show you the inner workings here. So typical IK setup. Now what happens is when we have a weapon, now I actually have a big bone here. This big green one here is called gun main. So there's a lot of times where we want our IK hands to act as children of another bone. So in this case, if we want our IK hands to stick to our weapon without actually parenting to them, we can do it like this. And if we look at our end panel here, I have some custom properties that I set up on this gun bone. So if I turn on handfollow.L and handfollow.R, I can actually stick those hand IK bones to my gun bone here, and that's what those other two bones were. That's where, when I turn these on and off, that's where it's sticking to. So that's why I have these other bones set up. These, let me see here, if I just get it out of the way here, this hand gun handhold.L is just parented right to that bone, and I'm just basically turning this a constraint on and off so it follows that. So this situation right here, so we have our weapon, we can put it down here, move it off to the side, we do kind of a spray and pray and shoot a bunch of bullets at our enemies and whatnot, and you'll notice that I can grab this weapon, move it anywhere. The arms are basically, because of the IK constraints, are going to stick, the hands are going to stick there, and they're just going to rotate automatically. I can actually move the body, have them turn around, say, hey, give me some more ammo, whatever. So in this situation, having these separated works really well. But what if you actually want to hit something and not just fling a million bullets into nothing? I actually have another slider here called follow shoulder. You'll notice there's a bone up here called gun shoulder mount. So when I turn that slider on, this influence is going to go up to 1, and now our gun is going to act as a child of the body here. So if I turn this around, if I just do sweeping back and forth here, this is more like a sniper. You put the gun up to your shoulder and actually look through the sights, and if you actually want to hit something. So this works well for that. Now there's another situation you're going to run into. If I just turn these off, where we don't want it to follow the shoulder anymore, and we don't want our hands to follow our gun anymore, we'll just clear all of our rig controls here, get everything centered. If I take my hand IK and my body IK, or the chest, and I want to translate my character to another part of the scene, you'll see that our weapon is being left behind. So in this case, we would like to have this weapon act as a child of the chest here, and I have another custom property set up. So this weapon will go into this holstered position. So if I turn on follow hip, it's going to copy the transforms here, and copy transform constraint is basically just a combination copy location, copy rotation, and copy scale all in one. So if I turn that slider on, this custom property, now our gun is holstered, and we can select our IK and translation controls here, and we don't have to worry about our gun being left behind. So let's look behind the hood here and under the hood here and show you exactly what's going on. It's actually super simple, and there's no child of constraints or any weird stuff like that. It's all I'm doing is using a copy transform constraint, which is, like I said, copy location, copy rotation, and copy scale. The only odd thing I'm doing is I added drivers to it, so when I select this bone, I can use custom properties to turn these constraints on and off, so I don't have to select this bone and turn it on and off. You wouldn't have to actually use these custom properties. You could just go in there and keyframe your influence from 0 to 1 or whatever, but I find it's rather than going through all these bones and trying to find all this stuff. So I don't want to have to select the right bone, turn this on, select the left bone, turn that on. I can just do this with a custom property right here. So, and like I mentioned before, basically the only thing that's happening, I have this gun main bone, and I have the handhold on the left, handhold on the right. They're parented to it, so they are children of it, and I'm just turning a copy transform constraint on, so our IK actually follows that bone. I turn it on and off. Now what happens with the copy transform constraint is, if I select my hand IK.L, I can no longer move it because it is copying the transforms of another bone, so it's not letting me. If I type G, if you look up here in our transform, the location is actually moving, it's just being overwritten by this copy transforms. But not a problem. If we actually want to have the move our hand, we can actually select the gun handhold.L, which our IK bone is copying, and we can do like maybe a pump action if you had a shotgun or something like that. So you can't, once the transform constraint influences 1, we're going to lose our hand IK controls, but we just need to instead animate the bone that it's copying. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm not actually going to go through how to put all of this together and rig it in this tutorial. I just wanted to show you the basics, and if you know how to set up drivers and custom properties and IK constraints and all of that, you can pretty much skip the next lesson that I'm going to put up here. But if you need that information, I will show you how to do all of this from scratch, and I'm also going to do a third part, I think, where I'm going to give you some tips on how to animate this. So basically we're going to want to do a coordinated switch here. Whenever we go from 0 to 1, we don't want that influence to happen over more than one frame, and I'll show you why in part 3. So until then, I hope these tips help you, and look forward to seeing whatever weapons you can come up with for your characters. Good luck.